Getting married young can be a huge blessing. It can also have a lot of challenges. And so you'll have all these different perspectives that they can be talking about that it's a really good thing, like books like Kissing, Dating, Goodbye, where they really emphasize that. But there's other walks of life that they're talking about, oh no, wait till you're much older and you experience life. And so in this video, we're going to talk about the reality of getting married young. Hello, my friend. My name's Zach, and I got married at 22. In fact, I met my wife at the ripe old age of 14. And we were high school sweethearts, went through college and got married at 22. And there is a lot of blessings that happen with that, and there's some hard things. Let's dive in to the reality of getting married young. When we get married, our lenses totally need to switch. And for me, as a young man, this was a hard thing. See, before you get married, it's a very selfish lens. You have this, what do I want? What do I want them to look like? What do I want them to act like? What personality do I want? And you're in the dating process, you're judging if you want to be with this person. That's okay, that's good. You should do that. If you're not married yet and watching this, please go through that process. You don't want to just give your life to something before you realize if you want to. But when you get married, it switches from this like lens of selfishness and judgment to now the Bible asks you to do something that blows your mind. It's the opposite of that selfish intent. See, it calls husbands specifically to die to themselves, like Christ did for the church. And that is something, my friend, that is impossible to do without God. And when you're young, hopefully that's the most immature you are, because hopefully you mature more in Christ as you age. And so in the beginning, there was arguments about the dumbest stuff. I was so worried about respect, or if she liked me, or all this other stuff. And so just know that the younger you are, that's the less spiritual you are, because hopefully as we grow, right? Hopefully you're not older and still walking like a kindergarten Christ follower. But in the beginning, my selfishness showed the most. The advantage of it is, like I said, dying to self within marriage, it shows up the most. And so it can supercharge, when you're surrendering to Christ, your growth process. Like, you're confronted with your selfishness much more within marriage than without. And so the positive side of getting married young is you can, if you're surrendered to Christ, mature quicker. At least that's what I've found to be true. Number two becoming one and being individuals. Getting married young has a certain challenge to it. On the one side, becoming one is a little easier. Like I said, my wife and I met at 14. We're still discovering who we are at 17, 18, 19, even at 22. And so the becoming one part of marriage was very easy for us, because we were forming our wants and desires together. Now, marriage is a little complicated and confusing as to becoming one yet still being individuals. And the younger you get married, the individual part can be a little more challenging. Vice versa, getting married a little older, that individuality is more built, and maybe the becoming one can be a little more challenging. Right? Remember, the purpose of this video is not to say, hey, you should get married young or you should get married old. It's just to offer up that there's challenges that are a little different depending on age. Number 3, you're broke. I mean, that is a real challenge, at least for me. So we graduated college. We didn't graduate college. My wife graduated college. I'm a college dropout, and I was starting a new business. And so starting a new business, it wasn't making a lot of money. I mean, you're broke, you're starting new careers, you're learning new skills in general. It is overwhelming, the amount you're going through. And that's why a lot of times you can hear that the first year of marriage is difficult. It's not just learning to live with each other. It's also, you're at the most stressful point. That was the least money we had. We were working long hours for very low pay. And that stress can show up within the marriage. That stress can be overwhelming. In fact, the main cause of divorce in America is money fights and money problems. And so when you get married young, you're starting out with money fights and money problems, and they're in spades. Now, here's the plus side that it can be about that. When you're broke and you're learning to live together on your own, you also learn just to be happy, and you can learn to be happy and content. The plus side is our expectations are lower. I mean, at 22, I had one goal when we got married, and it was to not fight on our honeymoon. That's how low my expectations were, because I was learning this new thing that I didn't know what to do. I mean, I didn't know where I was going in my career. There was so much unknown. And my wife, when we got married, she didn't have high expectations. She knew we were broke. It was no secret. Like, we were both poor college students. In fact, when I asked her to marry me, I was part-time secretary at the psych department at the University of Oregon. I was the head resident at the Christian co-op we lived in. And I worked at FedEx Ground, putting packages in the back of trucks. None of those things were paying me well. She still said yes. She wasn't chasing money. Those were things. And so when your expectations start out lower, you get excited about stuff and discouraged by stuff. I remember we came back from our honeymoon and we unpacked all of our wedding gifts and we're setting up our brand new house, and we're like, oh my gosh, we have no pots and pans. How are we going to cook anything? Or I think the other thing we didn't have was, we didn't have a dining room table. So we used one of those cardboard, or those old like card tables that just fold up. Like, that was our dining room table for years. Little folding chairs, no couch. We had nothing. And there was hard things about that, but there was also beauty about that. Number 4, it's the least skilled you are at navigating relationships. That's not to talk down to anyone in your youth. If you're watching this and you're younger than I am, that's not to talk down to you. That is the hopeful reality. More time gets you more skill. Or you can just keep repeating the same thing and not learning. I mean, that'll be your choice. But for me, I've grown a lot. See, over the years, I've gotten certified to be a marriage coach. I've read books on marriage and counseling and learned how listening skills and how to speak. Learned how to stop arguing about the same thing. Went to counseling myself and unburdened things that were in me. You know, when you get married young, you are the least skilled at navigating those relational conflicts that come up. Again, that is not because you're young and I'm looking down. That is because hopefully the more time you have, the more time you have to develop those skills. And if you're watching this and you're not reading books or getting coaching or doing all these other things, I have a challenge for you. Are you going to take your marriage seriously? You know, we get training for work. We get training for driving. We get training for all these things. And a lot of people I see jump into marriage and with no training. And they're going to, I'm going to figure this out. This will be fine. Dude, you ain't going to figure it out on your own. You need resources. You need to grow. We all do. I do today. I hope and pray that I am the worst husband now compared to 10 years further in the future. And not because I want to be a pile now, but because I want to grow more. And so you're going to be less skilled if you get married young. Just know that. Jump in, learn right away. If you're not married yet, I would just say you don't need to wait till you're married to learn these skills. And you can learn lots of different things. You can get coaching, like I said, or counseling, or read books. But a skill that is a must, whether you are married young or married old, is learning to listen. And it is easy, but it's not simple. And I don't think we teach people enough how to listen properly. So watch this video right here and learn to listen to your new bride or your new husband.